What a weekend it's been for Rangers fans everywhere. That victory over Dundee, a solid 3-0 at Dens Park, was exactly the kind of performance supporters have been crying out for, and you could feel the relief and energy flowing through the stands. But the final whistle didn't mark the end of the story. It actually opened a whole new chapter. Because while the team celebrated an important 3 points, the real talking point came right after the game, when Danny Rowe stepped in front of the cameras and gave one of his most revealing interviews since taking charge. The German boss wasn't hiding behind cliches or short answers. He spoke openly about his plans for January, his vision for the future, and what he expects from his players moving forward. And, of course, when a manager starts talking transfers, the fan base immediately lights up. Everyone wants to know the same thing. Will we finally see a new striker coming through the doors at Ibrox? Now, it's no secret that the attacking department has been under the microscope lately. The pressure has been mounting, and the fans have made their feelings known. The goals have not been coming as easily as they should, and for a club with Rangers' ambitions, that's never acceptable. Danny Rowe, though, seems determined to steady the ship rather than hit the panic button. He talked about belief, about growth, and about improving the players already at his disposal before rushing into the transfer market. It's a refreshing approach, especially considering how often clubs jump straight into spending without really understanding where the real issues lie. Rowe said he sees good moments in the team, that he's trying to give his strikers confidence and time to develop, and that every player needs to understand what's expected of them. He sounded calm, focused, and in control, exactly the kind of tone that helps a team rebuild its identity. And it's not just the fans who have noticed. Rangers legend ally McCoist had plenty to say about the new boss, and it's fair to say his early verdict was a positive one. McCoist, a man who knows exactly what it means to lead this club both on and off the pitch, praised the way Rowe has carried himself since arriving. He highlighted how the manager has completely changed the atmosphere, the mentality, and even the energy around the club. Of course, McCoist added a bit of realism too. He knows success doesn't come overnight. But he couldn't hide his admiration for the way Danny Rowe communicates, his composure, and his professionalism. For someone who has seen it all, that's not faint praise. McCoist said it best. The first step for Rangers wasn't about miracles on the pitch, but about restoring calm and confidence in the dressing room. And by that measure, the new manager is already delivering. Now let's put things into perspective. Since taking over, Danny Rowe has yet to lose a match in the Scottish Premiership. That's not a bad start by any standard. Sunday's win helped close the gap between Rangers and league leaders Hearts to 12 points. A significant margin, yes, but not insurmountable if the momentum continues to build. Hearts, on the other hand, dropped points at Tynecastle, drawing against Dundee United. McCoist was quick to point out that those are exactly the kinds of games you need to win if you're serious about a title race. Celtic, meanwhile, keep doing what Celtic do, winning comfortably and piling the pressure on everyone else. It's shaping up to be an intriguing battle at the top of the table, but for Rangers, it's all about consistency from here on out. Speaking of consistency, that's where the conversation turns tricky, especially when it comes to the striking department. Yusuf Chamatai and Bojan Majowski were both brought in with high hopes, yet neither has managed to find rhythm or confidence so far. Chamatai, signed for an eye-watering £10 million, has scored just once in 12 appearances. Majowski, another forward expected to make an immediate impact, has only found the net twice. Those numbers speak for themselves, and not in a good way. Then there's Danilo, a player who's been at Ibrox for over 2 years, but still hasn't managed to put together a long stretch of form. For a club that prides itself on attacking football, those are problems that simply can't be ignored. Danny Rowe, though, doesn't seem ready to throw anyone under the bus. When asked directly whether he's planning to bring in another striker in January, he kept things balanced. He said he sees quality in the current group, he's observing progress, and his main goal right now is to get every player closer to their potential. He mentioned that he's constantly talking with them, helping them understand what needs improving and trying to make sure the team grows collectively. That's the kind of managerial patience that often pays off in the long run, especially in a league where confidence swings can define entire seasons. But behind that calm tone, it's clear Rowe is assessing everything carefully. He admitted he's been making notes, studying each player's strengths and weaknesses, and working out how best to use his squad. He made it clear that no single 11 players can carry Rangers through the campaign. Rotation, adaptability, and depth are key. That's why he's focusing on developing every individual, from the experienced names to the younger talents like Mikey Moore, who's been catching eyes with his performances. Moore found the net recently, a moment that Rowe described as proof that the team is moving in the right direction. Those small victories build the foundation for something much bigger. However, not every story around the club right now is as positive. The situation with Youssef Chamatai has become one of the biggest talking points in Scottish football. The Portuguese striker arrived in Glasgow with a reputation as one of Europe's brightest young forwards, but things just haven't clicked. Barely 3 months into his Rangers career, reports are already suggesting he could be heading out on loan, with a possible move to Braga being discussed for January. It's a dramatic turn of events for a player who was signed with so much expectation and hype. When Chamatai joined from Everton, it was seen as a bold move, a statement that Rangers were investing in youth and potential. But so far, that gamble hasn't paid off. His confidence looks shot, his movement hesitant, and his finishing uncertain. For a player carrying a £10 million price tag, the pressure is enormous, and right now, it's weighing him down. What makes this story even more significant is what it says about Rangers' recruitment strategy. Sporting director Kevin Thelwell was the man who pushed hard to bring Chamatai in, believing that a change of environment and regular football would unlock his potential. But as things stand, that optimism has faded quickly. The signing has become symbolic of a wider issue: the club's tendency to spend big without getting consistent returns. For every success story like Derek Cornelius or Jeffy, there have been too many high-priced signings who simply haven't delivered. And that's a problem not just on the pitch, but behind the scenes too. The financial hit from these deals puts pressure on future windows and limits flexibility when new opportunities arise. It's hard not to feel for Chamatai himself. The talent is there. Everyone can see flashes of it, but the adaptation has been brutal. Scottish football demands physicality, aggression, and a certain street-smart edge, and those are qualities that take time to develop. Unfortunately, patience is rarely a luxury afforded at a club like Rangers, especially when supporters are desperate for instant results. Every missed chance, every mistimed run, and every poor touch only amplifies the scrutiny. And with Danilo now finding some rhythm and showing signs of resurgence, Chamatai's window to prove himself is getting smaller by the week. A loan move to Portugal might be exactly what he needs: a reset, a fresh start, and a chance to rebuild his confidence away from the glare of Ibrox. Still, this saga has raised fair questions about the decision-making process behind the scenes. Spending £10 million on a player who hadn't scored a senior goal in over 2 years was always a risk, and now that risk looks like a major miscalculation. Fans have been voicing frustration not just about the results, but about the club's overall transfer model. The idea has always been to identify young talent, develop them, and eventually sell for profit. But that only works if the recruitment is smart and the development environment is strong. Right now, too many of those elements seem out of sync. Danny Rowe might not have been in charge when some of these deals were made, but he's the one tasked with making sense of it all. And based on how he's handled himself so far, there's reason to believe he'll take a more calculated approach in the next window. The mood among the supporters, though, is cautiously optimistic. They can see improvements. The team looks more structured, more motivated, and more connected than it did just a few weeks ago. The clean sheet against Dundee wasn't just about defending well. It was about discipline, focus, and teamwork. You can tell that the players are starting to buy into Rowe's ideas. The body language has changed, the passing is sharper, and the pressing looks more coordinated. It's not perfect, but it's progress, and for a club like Rangers, progress is everything. And as for the manager himself, Danny Rowe seems to understand what this club means to its fans. He knows that at Rangers, every game is a test, every word is analyzed, and every decision can shape the narrative. But he's embracing that pressure rather than shying away from it. You can see it in his demeanor, his press conferences, even in the way he celebrates with his players. He's building something, step by step, and though there's still a long road ahead, it finally feels like the team has direction again. Now that we've looked at the results on the pitch and the questions around the striker position, there's another layer to this story that can't be ignored: the mentality shift happening inside the club. Anyone who's watched Rangers closely over the last few seasons knows the team's biggest challenge hasn't just been about tactics or formations. It's been about belief. The weight of expectation at Ibrox can crush players if they're not mentally ready for it. Every touch is analyzed, every mistake magnified. That's what makes Danny Rowe's approach so fascinating. Instead of trying to force instant success, he's been quietly rebuilding that collective confidence, getting players to enjoy their football again, and restoring the pride that comes with wearing the blue shirt. You can sense it in the way the players react to setbacks now. They're not dropping their heads as easily, and that resilience is something fans have been desperate to see. Training sessions under Rowe have reportedly been intense, but purposeful. There's a clear emphasis on communication, movement, and game intelligence. Players who were struggling for form have started to look sharper. Take someone like Ryan Jack or John Lundstram, for example. Both have looked more composed and confident, understanding their roles better within the system. The midfield, which often felt disjointed earlier in the season, now operates with more control. You can tell there's a structure forming, a sense that every man on the pitch knows exactly what's expected of him. It's still early days, but it feels like Rangers are rediscovering their identity under this new regime. And what's really interesting is how Rowe has been managing expectations publicly. He doesn't make wild promises. He doesn't talk about trophies or records. Instead, he keeps bringing the conversation back to development and improvement. He talks about details, the positioning, the intensity, the discipline that often separate good teams from great ones. That's the kind of mindset that lays foundations for real progress. Fans might crave instant glory, but even they are beginning to see that the club needs stability before silverware can return consistently. Rangers have been through enough turbulence in recent years. Now, it's about building something sustainable. Of course, that doesn't mean the fans aren't dreaming. Every win reignites the hope. Every performance brings that feeling that maybe, just maybe, this team is on the verge of something. And when you combine that optimism with a manager who seems to genuinely understand Scottish football, you've got the recipe for a strong comeback story. It's worth remembering that Danny Rowe is still learning the unique demands of this league, the physicality, the tempo, the atmosphere in away grounds. But his willingness to adapt and his humility in the face of those challenges are winning people over fast. He's shown he's not afraid to make tough calls, and that balance of authority and empathy is exactly what Rangers have been missing. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. There's a growing buzz rippling through Scottish football this week, and it's all centered around one name, Kevin Nisbet. Word on the street is that the Scotland international has severed ties with Aberdeen and is now on the brink of becoming Rangers' newest number 9. The move, whispered first in corridors around Pittodrie and now echoing across Ibrox, could mark one of the most surprising turns of the season so far. Insiders close to both camps claim that Nisbet's relationship with the Dons had cooled in recent weeks, with murmurs of frustration over his role in the side and the team's direction. A few training ground disagreements and one or two cryptic social media posts were enough to get tongues wagging, and now it seems the split has finally come to pass. Aberdeen fans are reportedly stunned, not least because the forward was seen as a key piece of their long-term plans. Rangers supporters, on the other hand, are already daring to dream. The idea of Nisbet donning the famous blue shirt has stirred no small amount of excitement among the Ibrox faithful. His reputation as a tireless worker with a clinical touch in front of goal makes him a natural fit for a side eager to inject new energy into its attack. Some even suggest that this could be the boldest statement yet from the club's current regime, a reminder that Rangers remain determined to dominate both domestically and in Europe. The move also reignites an old tension in Scottish football. Transfers between clubs with such fierce rivalry, even indirectly, always come with a bit of drama. There are questions about how Aberdeen allowed one of their prime assets to slip away, and whether Rangers have pulled off a masterstroke just as the season begins to heat up. Nothing official has been signed off, at least not publicly, but all signs point to an announcement looming large. The chatter in pubs from Glasgow to Inverness is growing louder by the hour. Kevin Nisbet, once the pride of Pittodrie, now looks set to lead the line at Ibrox. And if the whispers prove true, the next chapter of his career could send shockwaves across the Scottish game. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.